For this video, I'm going to show you a quick and easy setup for a really cool encounter for your role-playing game.
Ta-da!
Hello gamers, Matthew here from Grey Army Gaming. What you see before you is a really cool encounter that I've run my D&D group through that I am calling River Run. Now, if you have played the game Oregon Trail on the computer back in the 80s and 90s, you will recognize the mechanic here. In Oregon Trail, you threw your group onto a small raft and you had to float down the Columbia River to get to Fort Vancouver. Now, something similar is going to happen here. Your group is going to get into a boat and they are going to have to avoid all sorts of obstacles and rocks, all the while getting attacked by creatures from the north and the south. The group is going to roll a ton of rolls, high-stake rolls. There's going to be a ton of action and nobody is going to be falling asleep at your table, I can guarantee it. Earlier in the campaign, in the previous two sessions, I dropped a ton of hints about this river, about how the river will take them to the city that they are trying to get to, but also how the river is quite dangerous. And I also dropped hints about this. At one point, there's a point of no return on the river that is marked by a stone. Here I have an example, a rune stone, but in my game, I used a stone that looked like a skull. I called it Skull Stone, and the locals had told stories about this. If you're on the river, you need to get off the river by Skull Stone, otherwise the river gets unruly, you can't control your vessel, and it shoots you off of a huge waterfall. So what this is going to do is give us some time pressure, some excitement, and force your players to really think ahead before they hit this cutoff point. Otherwise, there can be some serious consequences. The first thing I did was make a list of all my players. There's going to be a lot of dice rolls in this game, so I thought it was really cool to make a list, and we'll just go through the list and let each person roll for a different thing as we go through the encounter. All rounds after the first will begin with a D20 roll, and this will determine whether or not the group gets to the point of no return. So you start out with a 20. If you roll a 20 on the next round, then you would hit the rock. This is a 12, so no. The second round, you go to a 19 plus, so a 19 or a 20. No, 16. Third round will be a 18 plus. And so on and so forth. And you roll all the way down until the group hits the number that you have set up for the target number for the cutoff point. Dropping down 1 point at a time will potentially make this take a lot longer. If you'd like to speed it up, you can always drop down by 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, entirely up to you. But let's say we drop down by 3. Maybe we have the second round, we have to roll a 20. If they roll a 20, no, they are good. Then after that, the next round, they will roll a 17 plus. There is an 18, so already in that round, the group has come to the point of no return. For the next roll, ask your next player on the list now to roll a d4, and this will be the number of obstacles, obstructions, or rocks that will come into the river. So let's go ahead and roll off a d4, and that is a 4. What you as a game master are going to do then is to pick up 4 of your dice and roll them out randomly on the river to try and see where the obstacles are going to be. So we'll take 4 dice in this case because we rolled a 4, and we will throw it out on the river. And there you see how the rocks will end up, creating quite a menacing path for the group. They might have something there up on the top, but the group might also have to try to destroy some stones as they are coming. Otherwise, they're going to ram the stones with their ship. So once you have stones set up now, you're going to go to the next person on the list and have them roll for the attacks, whether they're going to be attacked from the north, the south, or both. So have one of your players roll a d20 and consult this chart. If it's a 1 through 5, you have an attack from the north, a 6 through 10, attack from the south, or an 11 to 20, you have attacks from both the north and the south. And this is going to determine where the group wants to bring their boat, because the closer they get to the shore, the closer they are going to be to getting attacked. So let's go ahead and roll this out. And it is going to be a 3, so that will in fact be from the north. You can go ahead then and set up your creature right on the edge of the water. At this point, the group is going to need to take a check in order to see if they can control the boat. Now, you're going to have one of your players in the back of the boat with the rudder. That person needs to make a dexterity check on a DC 17 in order to keep control of the boat. Now, there are potentially 2 other people who can aid this by rowing with 2 paddles. Now, here's the thing with this. If you aid, that person cannot do anything else this round, so they can't use any other actions, but they will provide a +3 each to the person who is controlling the rudder. So, for example, if 2 people are aiding at this point, the dexterity check person will get a +6. So let's say our person in the back here now has a +4 to their dexterity, and two people decide to help them, which means they can't take any other actions this turn, and they will go ahead and provide a +3 each. So that means we have a +10. We need to roll a 7 or higher to complete this, and there's a natural 20. So no problem. The group is able to steer the boat successfully. And so what this means now is the group is going to elect to go south here, avoid the creature, and see if they can swing past these rocks. Now, this is going to be a tight squeeze. You as a game master have to make some calls if they can get through those spaces. If they try to get through and they can't quite do it, they're going to squeeze through, then they are going to take some damage on their boat. If the player on the rudder were to fail his or her dexterity check and not hit the DC 17 that is required to control the boat, you would now lose control of the boat. Ask your next person on the list to roll a D6, and this will determine which direction the boat goes. 1 to 2, it will go north. 3, 4, it'll stay in the center. And 5, 6, it will go south. Here we go. Let's roll this off. 1D6, and it is a 5, 6. It is a 6, so it will go south. Indeed, a very fortunate roll for this group. They are going to avoid the dinosaur and bring them to where they had hoped to be anyway. As you are walking through this encounter, the boat will be taking damage. Now, this boat starts with 100 hit points, and each hit on a rock or an obstacle will be 1d10 of damage. In addition, if the boat is attacked by any of the creatures, they will also be able to do damage on the boat. Now, this boat, as I said, has 100 hit points, but it also has a threshold of 10. Once the boat goes under 10 hit points, it begins to take on water. It can no longer function like a boat. When it gets to 0, it is completely destroyed. With the boat destroyed, all of the players will fall into the water, and they will have to be able to get themselves out of these raging waters before we hit the point of no return. Once the group has made it through the obstacles and they have avoided the creatures, you can then reset this whole encounter by moving the boat back to one side, removing the stones, and beginning the roll process all over again. And you pick the next person on the list to roll a d20. Let's say that we're dropping down by 3 each round, and this is going to be our third round. So we need a 17 plus to be done with the river. They roll out an 11. No, we continue on with this encounter, rolling for rocks and rolling for creatures, so on and so forth. Eventually, you will roll on a d20 so that you hit the point of no return. At this point, when they roll the die, you do not tell the players what you have in mind with this d20 roll. But once they hit the target number, then you immediately have all of your players roll a perception check with a DC of 17. Now, there's tons of things going on in the boat. There's tons of things happening, so they are very distracted. A DC 17 is a high DC. Have them roll a perception check and see if anybody notices the rock or the point of no return marker. If players hit the 17 DC for their perception check, you can remind them of the hints that they got about the point of no return on this river and remind them that they are heading to a dangerous falls. If the group does not hit the DC 17 and nobody picks this up, you can do a fantastic DM trick and say to them, "What you all missed in the heat of the moment was this." And then you describe the rock and the point of no return so that the group knows that they are heading to the falls, but their characters do not. Once the group has passed this point of no return, you as a DM now get to make a decision. You either give them one action each, so one round where they each get to take one action, or if you're a kinder DM, you can give them 2 actions, so 2 rounds. And at the end of the second round or the first round, depending upon what you choose, the boat is going to fly off the edge of the falls. The same thing also applies to any players that are in the water. They're going to be taking athletics checks to try and keep themselves afloat and try to swim to the shore. These are going to be high DCs because of the rapids, but they also have 1 or potentially 2 actions before they also fly off of the falls, this time not in a boat. The falls in my game are 80 feet high, so you are looking at 8d10 damage when they go off the falls. This could be potentially fatal for some of them or all of them. So there you have it, folks. A really exciting way to do an encounter on a river where the players are constantly making rolls to avoid obstacles. They're constantly under the threat of creatures, and they have to try to get control of their ship before they end up hitting the falls at the end. If you like this kind of content and would like to see more tips and tricks for your role-playing games, please do subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and leave a comment below, and I will continue to make more videos like this in the future. And most importantly, thank you for joining us here today at Gray Army Gaming for the future of gaming.